Today on Passion for Food, we're really gonna beef things up with these teriyaki steak tips with easy, cheesy potato gratin. We'll have some great tips for great tips, and you just know things are gonna get cheesy, so let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing we need to do is prepare the potatoes for our gratin. Now, I like russets for this, but any potato will work, although I am going to peel these. And we want to slice them about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. A knife would work, but I like the mandolin for this. It makes it so much faster. And for an 8x8 gratin like the one we're making today, you're going to want between 2 and 3 pounds of sliced potatoes like this, along with 1 large onion. And we want to slice this fairly thin as well. This is all getting layered together. But now that we have those nicely rounded out, that's it for our slicing. We can go ahead and start assembling our gratin. And I'm going to be using an 8x8 today, but you can really make these in any size you would like. And to that, I'm going to add about 1.5 tablespoons of melted butter. That's really more for the flavor than any non-stickiness that we're getting from that. This is a non-stick pan already. And now it's time for assembly. All we want to do here is layer in our potatoes and onions, salting and peppering between each layer. Once we're about halfway done layering in our potatoes and onions, I'm going to go ahead and add some of this processed cheese. Feel free to use regular cheese if you like, but I just happen to have some of this from some mac and cheese experiments I've been doing, and the emulsifiers and stuff they use to make them really actually do add something special to this, I think. I know seeing me use that stuff might make some people gasp, but hey, relax, it's made with real cheese. I think. Maybe. Probably. Anyway, once we get around to finishing all these layers, we want 1 final salt and peppering, and then I'm going to pour in just enough milk to where when you press on the top, you should see the liquid kind of come up to the top like that. And I'm going to add a couple more slices of my perfectly rectangular cheese product, and then we're going to whisk this off to a 350-degree oven for 90 minutes. That's 1.5 hours. You really can't rush this. And once this comes out, you can eat it right away, but I really prefer letting it sit and cool for at least 10 or even 20 minutes. This will stay hot quite a while. So while that's cooling, let's go ahead and meat our steaks. I'm going to be using sirloin steaks today, but any tender cut would work just fine for this. And all we want to do is slice these into bite-sized pieces. It really doesn't matter how big your bites are, just so long as all these pieces are approximately the same size. And pay no mind to that super subtle cat paw right at the top of the frame there. There definitely wasn't a cat on my counter, so let's just go ahead and salt and pepper these steak bites liberally. And we'll just get it a little mixed around to get that seasoning distributed. And we can just go ahead and set this aside for a minute while we make our easy teriyaki sauce. Of course, you could always buy some teriyaki sauce, but it's surprisingly easy to make, so why not? Now we're going to go ahead and use about 1/3 cup of mirin. That's a Japanese cooking wine. Along with about 1 teaspoon of toasted sesame oil. Don't use too much, that's really strong stuff. And about 1/3 cup of soy sauce. So I'd say that's probably roughly equal parts mirin and soy sauce in this one. And if you've seen any of my videos before, you'll know there's almost no sauce that I won't put a couple of cloves of garlic into. And lastly, a couple dashes of cayenne pepper. You can use more or less of this depending on how spicy you like things. And that's it for our teriyaki sauce. I'm just going to give this a quick mix, and we can go ahead and get to our steak tips. And really the best tip of all is, no matter what kind of pan you're going to use to cook these in, you want it to be screaming hot when you put these in. So we have these in here with about 2 tablespoons or so of oil. And another great tip is not to mess around with these once they go into the pan. I'm just going to give them a quick pat down with a spoon so we're making maximum surface area contact with the pan, and then you just want to leave them alone while they form a crust on that side. After 2 or 3 minutes, we should have developed a nice crust, and you can usually tell because the meat will actually release from the pan. If we try and flip these too soon, they'll often stick. And you can see that great crust we formed. So we'll just get this mixed around and all that flipped over, and we're going to cook it for another 2 or 3 minutes to try and crustify that other side. And while that's cooking away, I was trying to think of a fun steak joke for you guys, but the truth is that really is a rare medium well done. Anyway, after about another minute and a half, I'm going to go ahead and dump in that teriyaki sauce. We want this to actually deglaze our pan first, and then it's going to reduce down and actually turn into a glaze for our steak tips. Now, another great steak tip here is to do this over screaming high heat the whole time, at least unless you want your steak well done. The idea is to get this done really quickly so I can still get a medium well in the center of these. And I definitely think we've reached the tipping point here, so why don't we go ahead and grab a plate of this and give it a try. These really came out tip-tastically. You can see that beautiful teriyaki glaze on there. And I'll go ahead and try one and see if we got the perfect medium well I was aiming for. And I guess you could say I was just tickled pink with how perfect those came out. And just one final tip for you folks. By the way, the larger you cut these, the easier you'll find it getting that rare or medium rare in the center. If you cut them smaller, it's easier to make them well done. And speaking of well done, that cheesy potato gratin is really the perfect side dish for pretty much everything. I think I'm going to start making that a lot more frequently. And I definitely recommend you give it a try. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode of Passion for Food. If you have, give me a thumbs up below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that little bell so you don't miss our future recipes. And you can also check out one of our other great videos playing on the screen now. This has been Graham with Passion for Food.